8 o'clock, we'll call our Agencies and Affairs meeting to order. First up, looking for approval of the agenda. Motion and support, changes or additions or deletions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Public comment. 5 minutes for the public to comment about any topic you'd like. You look like you're ready to head for the podium there, Airport Manager Maurer. Okay. Closing public comment, moving on to minutes from the October 7th meeting. Looking for a motion? Motion and support, changes or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next up is appointments. Recollection, we have 2, but there's nobody that's applied for them. So we'll continue to advertise as I wait for my computer to pull it up. I think there's nobody applied, correct? Okay. Mike, where are we advertising these at? Because these have been out there for quite a while.
We put it in the local paper.
Is that emergency management?
Yeah, that and agricultural.
I have an interested party that I want
Okay. Yeah, that and Ag Preservation Board. They've both been vacant for some time. Okay.
Yeah, I do think you need to.
Okay. Moving on to airport sponsor contract, Airport Manager Kent Maurer.
Good morning. This agenda item is a grant. It's the state local funds from MDOT Aeronautics, and it will fund the standby emergency generator that you've already approved the purchase of, and it should be installed within the next 2 weeks. This is a 5% match, and that money will come from the runway match fund.
Pretty straightforward. Any questions of Kent? And if not, if we can have a motion. Motion and support, questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kent. Blackman DDA, Debbie or Amy? Don't fight over it, girls.
Good morning. You have the reports in front of you this morning for the Blackman DDA as well as the Leone DDA. A couple things from Blackman perspective I'd like to point out. The Enterprise Group created our marketing booklet in the spring, April of this year, and it features the Blackman DDA and the county properties as one of our premier developable sites in the county. And we did have an inquiry last week that we responded to, and we were able to print out really nice reports of this property, and we're going to be demonstrating that to you when we visit you on December 6th. So you'll be pretty impressed with those reports that we're able to do now. It has demographics, labor force. You can do 10-mile radius, 20, whatever radius that you'd like to enter into the system, and it's really wonderful. So I think you'll be really impressed when we show you those reports in a couple weeks. The brush hogging and clearing for both the properties have been done this year. Mr. Weston was able to farm the property this year as well. I think one of the big highlights would be kind of a save the date for Thursday, January 9th, 2014, 4 p.m. till 8 p.m. That's when the grand opening of the Meyer Branch Jackson District Library will be anticipated. Other than that, are there any questions? I don't want to bore you with everything that you've probably already read.
Commissioners? Looks like nothing so far. A very well put together report and appreciate the links in it.
Thank you. Thank you. Regarding the Leone DDA, as you can see that the pathway has been constructed this year. We've done a couple of smaller projects for East Jackson Church of the Nazarene, Mitchell Motors. Still in discussions about the Sycamore Drain repair. We're working with the Drain Commissioner. I would like to thank Commissioner Shotwell and Commissioner Rice. The two of you have definitely assisted the Enterprise Group staff with our Leone DDA board, and I appreciate your input and I appreciate your support this year. I worked closely with Aaron Jones from Dawn Foods and put together an application to submit to the University of Michigan's Ross School of Business. basically, this is a course that lets their MBA students conduct research and analysis for strategic planning efforts, which the Leone DDA is looking to go through. Again, they would like to set some goals and some strategies and objectives on how they want to see the Leone DDA progress and grow. But with that, are there any questions for Leone DDA?
Chairman Chatwa?
Thank you, Deb, for all your hard work. Is Leone Township aware of the time constraints that are placed on their wetlands permit to finish the waterway around Ann Arbor Road? The Leone Township Board itself, I know that it's, the DDA seems to be aware of it, but they're working against a time constraint?
I'm not sure if they're aware of that or not. I'll have to get with you after the meeting and make sure that they are aware of that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
No other questions? Okay. Thank you, Deb.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the Upper Grand River Watershed Council.
Good morning. I'm Paul Rentschler, representing the Upper Grand River Watershed Alliance. We submitted our report previously, and I'm happy to answer any questions. We continue to implement the Upper Grand River Watershed Management Plan, which we are also revising at this time, and to represent the 4 communities in the Jackson urban area with stormwater permits with the state of Michigan, the city, Jackson County, Blackman, and Leone Townships. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioners, any comments on the report or questions?
Well, one error in the report, I'm sorry. Under fundraising, unfortunately, we've not helped Watershed Alliance members raise $7,888,000. It's $788,000 over the last few years, but we'll keep working at that larger number.
Gives a good figure to shoot for.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Clerk Amanda Riska, the clerk biannual report.
Good morning. Well, we are very busy in the clerk's office, in the middle of 2 projects in the planning stages. First one being the court records imaging project, which you've all heard me talk about. It's taken a long time to get off the ground, but finally. In October, we assembled a group that represents all the different divisions of the clerk's office and circuit court. And we have an 11-member team that met for 2 full days with a business analyst from ImageSoft, and he helped us to get started on compiling the different document types and routing for each document within the system. That's quite a task. We've been working on it pretty much nonstop since then, and we will have it completed this week and off to them. So that puts us on track for ImageSoft to have the functional specs back to us by the end of November. We've got a meeting scheduled the first week of December to review what they've prepared, and then we'll move into the testing phase, which will be the longest part of the process. The biggest initial benefit of the system will be the electronic documents moving between our office, front of the court, and prosecutors. And the long-term goal is to eventually offer e-filing, which I know a lot of people, a lot of attorneys are asking about that and looking forward to that. The other project that we're working on is the office remodel, and my staff has worked together to come up with a plan that really makes much more sense for the traffic flow within our office. It's going to better utilize the space and be much more useful, I think, in terms of getting customers in and out. Everyone's pretty excited about it and looking forward to moving forward. Following the outline that I provided, the customers that visit the office, we started keeping track of those this year. And through June through October, we averaged about 3,300 just visiting the Court Services Division. Our busiest month was August, and we counted 3,500. So we're bringing them in and pushing them out. The amount of cases filed for circuit and juvenile through October 31st are about the same as we had last year. We're a little less, 88 less than last year at this time. Restitution, we've dispersed $2,000 $209,644 year-to-date. But I know Carrie's working on another large batch. And that's going well with getting the payments out in a timely manner. In Vital Statistics, we are also keeping track of customers there, and they average about 2,000 customers a month. The largest, or the busiest month, again, was August, and 2,100. With records, we're about the same as we were last year, other than death records were up in that category, and CPLs were up quite considerably from last year. We had 1,059, and this year, end of October, we had 1,973. And I think a lot of that is the renewals. Veteran ID cards, we have been issuing, as you know, since October of last year, and we have issued 946. So it's pretty positive. In elections, the November 5th election went really well, as did the canvass. The canvassers certified the results on November 7th. And we're already working on the February 25th election. We've had proposal language filed and still have quite time before the deadline of December 17th, so we could have more that file. In jury, as I'm sure you're probably aware, we had show causes in October. Made the paper a couple of times. We did 2 different sets, one for just failing to appear, and the other was for failing to return the juror questionnaires. For those, we show caused 102 people. 66 people called and took care of it before they needed to come and appear at court. The others did show up at court, with the exception of 10 that bench warrants were issued for, and they ended up coming in and taking care of that in one way or another. Either fines being issued or just serving jury duty. So that's all I have. Any questions?
Jurors, is this the first time that it's gone that far, or the first time there's been that many?
It's the first time that we did show cause hearings for people that failed to return the questionnaire, but we've always done show cause hearings for those that failed to appear. We are going to continue the process of show causing people who do not return questionnaires. As far as people that we called in, or? No. No, unfortunately, there are many that don't respond, and hopefully by continuing the show cause process, it will increase the numbers of people that do respond. But we are also, I did forget one thing, I'm sorry, Commissioner Elwell. We are looking at adding a web and imaging module for the jury office, and that will allow jurors to provide information online. It also has a free app that you can download on your iPhone, and they are working on one for Android, so you can actually check in to jury through your phone. So I will be bringing that to the Personnel and Finance Committee next month.
Technology,
Isn't it
an
great?
evil thing. Okay. Julie?
Thank you, Clerk. In regards to the court records imaging project, it was impressive the way you have involved so many people and got a great team in place. One thing I did not hear you mention at all was the county IT department.
Oh, yes, they're definitely on board, so I apologize. Thank you for
That's
bringing
okay, at least I
that.
didn't hear it, maybe you
Yes.
did. No, so in that regards, when everything is up and running with the new software, who is your support for, is it the county IT, or is there software support with the company that you're purchasing
There
it
is
from?
both. Aaron Boyles is the dedicated IT employee for the county, and then we have a person through ImageSoft named Todd that he's dedicated to serving Jackson County.
Okay, and that answered the other question, is there a specific IT person just designated with an expertise in that? And you're
Yes.
saying yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No other questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Register of Deeds. Looks like it's Mona.
Good morning. Here for our second reporting, and I'm glad to say that, happy to say that the Register of Deeds has been quite active and busy this year, which a lot of ours, we don't have any control over, it's the economy, but we have been quite busy. And through October, I can say we've added additional revenues of about $108,000. But along with those, well, there'll be increased expenses. But we're watching our budget and we'll make necessary adjustments. Our recordings through October, we increased 1,319 recordings over 2012 the same time. Mortgage foreclosures and sheriff's deeds, we've recorded 424 through October, which is 266 less than 2012 and 364 less than 2011. And I have them all broke down in townships if any of you would like a copy to see how your district is doing. We go on to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. You know, I come every year telling you about the claim of exemption of transfer tax that they say they have a right to. The counties filed a lawsuit with the U.S. District Court, and it ruled in favor of the counties. They were required to pay transfer tax even though they stated an exemption that they were a government entity. Fannie Mae appealed to the Sixth Circuit Court, and the Sixth Circuit Court issued their opinion reversing the District Court's ruling. So we discontinued requiring them to pay transfer tax if they recited the correct exemption numbers. The counties, we do intend to appeal the Sixth Circuit Court ruling to the U.S. Supreme Court. But in the meantime, we're keeping records of all the conveyances from Fannie Mae, made by Fannie Mae, so that the claim for their collection may be made in the event that the Supreme Court rules in our favor. If it doesn't, we also have, I have a spreadsheet showing what we may have to turn around and refund them, which totals $22,681.16 in county transfer tax. But in the meantime, we always keep the administration aware of what's going on while we're waiting for these actions to take place. The Register of Deeds has a small staff. We have a senior clerk and just 2 data imaging clerks and a casual besides myself, the chief deputy, and Amanda. And with the small staff and the increase in recordings, we keep quite busy. And I can't praise my staff enough, we wouldn't be able to maintain same-day recording and stay as current as we do without my hardworking staff. On to automation. The automation fund is funded by those persons we do a service for. $5 of our recording fees go into the automation fund, which is used per state statute for upgrading technology and search capabilities. To update you on our simple search or historical records, at the end of 2012, we had available online a name search from 1964 back to the 1800s for deeds and miscellaneous documents, which could also be printed and purchased online. This year, we're adding images of all of our mortgages, assignments, and discharges historical. That's approximately about 245,000 images. Once they're scanned and uploaded, again, they can be searched and printed from anywhere in the world, and it's also a form of disaster recovery. As Amanda was talking about e-filing, we're looking into e-recordings through automation. We were able to afford the software technology, which last year was our first year. This is our second year we were able to e-record the county treasurer's tax foreclosure documents. Last year we did certificate of forfeitures. This year we added redemption certificates. Total we e-recorded for the treasurer through October was 4,057 documents. Well, we're excited and hope to, by the end of this year, to be accepting e-recordings from outside sources like banks, attorneys, gas companies, the IRS, state of Michigan. And using this e-recording technology, some of the benefits they've shown, I mean, we recorded 32,000 documents in 2012 alone, and by e-recording, it saves our staff about 4 minutes per document. That doesn't sound a lot, maybe to you guys, but it is a lot when you only have 3 staff and you're recording that many documents. Also, the cost, it'll reduce our postage cost. printing, ink, ribbons, envelopes. It speeds up the process. We receive prompt payment. We can handle rejections faster. They come in electronically, they go out immediately electronically instead of waiting on snail mail to get there and them get it back to us, and it increases productivity. And last year, we started using a kiosk on the second floor that you all know the second floor shares, there's 3 departments. We started using the kiosk where a customer will come up to the second floor, take a ticket for services. Ours would be recorded document, purchase a copy, questions, searching by illegal, sign into our track system, deposit funds to their escrow account. I ran a report, and since December of last year, we've served those who've taken a ticket. It's still educating those people to take that ticket from that red machine that's staring them in the face. But we're working on it with the help of volunteers at our information desk. That really makes a huge impact because they're sitting there and they happen to, someone's coming up the stairs and tends to wander. They'll stop them and say, hey, do you need to take a ticket? What department are you here for? They help answer the questions if they're not sure. We had served 5,380 customers with tickets. We have non-ticket customers, which we served 753 of those. Some of those are like UPS, FedEx, our local title companies, and a bank. They'll bring in a group of recording, which is anywhere from 5 to 25 documents without a ticket, and they'll drop them at a window, and we take those. So I think the kiosk is making a big difference on the second floor, and it's been very helpful to all of us. But that's about it for my,
Julie?
Where is the source of these volunteers coming from that you mentioned in
we
the
have-
information desk?
Some of them, the gentleman that's down there right now is a county employee that was injured and can't go back to his full responsibilities, so he sits in and is helping us. We've also have Michigan Works, is that they send volunteers in.
Okay, so individuals that need hours?
Yes, yes.
Outside the county
Yes,
employees?
but those that are on light duty with the
Right.
county, we take those first. And we have a gentleman down there right now that's doing a wonderful job.
Great, thank you.
Any questions?
Mona, just a couple of questions. One, you mentioned lawsuit, and maybe I missed it, but are we part of a class action then, and is there one attorney that represents everybody, or how's that work for us?
Yes, there's one attorney we're under the same one that, I don't have the paper, I think it started with Genesee County, maybe? But we're all under that.
Class action group, okay.
Yes, we're all under that. And we're still waiting to see if the Supreme Court will hear our case.
Okay, and then secondly, you volunteered you could send out, I think, the mortgage foreclosures broke down by township. Could you email that to the committee members when you
Yep.
get a minute? Great.
Yep. If everyone would
Mike,
like.
did you have a question or no?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Mona. District Court, Tammy Bates.
Good morning. First, I'm disappointed to see, hopefully you all have, but on the agenda it doesn't appear as if my link to the reports is there. Do you have that link? Okay, great. Good. Then I'm good. Okay, as you can see then from our reports, things are still moving in a positive direction for us, I think, as far as caseload, budgets, and things of that nature. Our collections department is up about 9,000 from where we were last year. At this time, our overall caseload is up about 1,400 from this time last year. And I skipped ahead when I left my office for some reason, and I brought my financials, my budget to actual for the month of October as opposed to September. But however, the month of October, our budget to actual year-to-date, we're actually at about 90% for our revenue and 80% for our expenses, so I think that those numbers are pretty good as well. We have last week, November 5th, we did a public satisfaction survey with the circuit court, family court, and probate court. So it was a court-wide public satisfaction survey that we did. The questions were designed from the State Court Administrative Office, so they weren't questions that were designed by us. This was a mandate from the State Court Administrative Office. In looking at those surveys, they were very favorable. So that was nice. We've sent those up to State Court Administrative Office. We're in the process. We just started new fiscal years for our grants, our community corrections, and our mental health court. Those are both going well, and we're continuing the process with e-ticketing. Other than that, there's nothing new in district court.
Tammy, I appreciate the link to all the reports. There is a lot of detail. There's, I think, 10 different reports there we can look at, so I do appreciate those. Commissioners, any questions on any of the reports or from Tammy or for Tammy? Chairman Shawa.
When I was reviewing these, I noticed that your total cases has been trending downward over the last 5 years. Do you think that's going to continue, or is this year going to bump back up in the 47,000 range again?
I don't see us bumping up. I think we're gonna kind of level off at this point. Quite honestly, I think what attributes to that is the reduced number of law enforcement that we have throughout the state on the roads that are there. A lot of times now what happens is where we used to have officers that handled calls, officers that were traffic, basically only traffic officers, we don't have that anymore. So I really contribute that decline on that, and I think it's going to stay the same unless there's a change with the number of law enforcement that we see on the roads.
Okay, no other question. Tammy, thank you.
And just a reminder, those reports that you see, they're available to you every month. They're updated monthly, and usually they're there about the 15th of the month. As soon as I get word from Jim Latham that the financials are done, that's when the reports are usually generated. So you're free to look at those each month, and if you have questions, shoot me an email. Thanks.
Circuit Family Probate Courts Quarterly Report. Charles.
Good morning. And a chilly one that it is. And yes, I did walk over. I wanted to follow up on a couple of things that Amanda first was talking about, and that was the imaging project. And I want to publicly thank her for all of her hard work. I was invited to be part of the planning session, but the real nuts and bolts are those people who handle all those papers. But Amanda and her staff have done a wonderful job. I just want to acknowledge that. With her remodel, she also included the probate court area. And for those that I think everyone's been in the probate court area, it's a very small office which is on the left-hand side of Vitals when you walk up there. And they have a very it's like putting 4 pounds of crap in a, 1 pound bucket. But part of the planning process that she's done and invited us to be part of, it wasn't only to help her office, but it also was to help us and expand their file storage area. And if everything goes well, it'll help both, not only probate, but the clerk's office too, and everybody's benefited by the public. So, thanks, Amanda. And then back to the juror question. They've done show causes for a long time, but one interesting thing I saw in the paper, it might have been in Gongwers, was a circuit judge in Saginaw County in the last month or so. It wasn't the fact that the person didn't complete the questionnaire, it's how he completed the questionnaire. And he ranted and raved in profanity, but he ended up getting show cause for that. He thought maybe by being a knucklehead he wouldn't have to serve. Well, he ended up serving, I think, 10 days in the county jail for that stupidity. So that's another angle that courts can look at. Again, it's at grant time. the recovery court just hired their veterans coach, who's an area person who's a veteran, and also a graduate of the recovery court. I've only had the occasion of meeting him one time, Michael McLean, I believe his last name was, and he'll be starting his training, which is required in December. General questions you may have?
I'm sorry, Charles.
I said general questions you may have, sir.
Commissioners? Julie?
Charles, I would like to follow up on the same question I directed to our county clerk. In regards to IT and keeping circuit, family, and probate courts running, do you have access to the same consistent IT person? She had mentioned Aaron is your individual, or
Well, that's
does
for
it
the
vary?
imaging, Aaron's
Correct.
imaging. We have one prominent person that we see most often, and that's Dave McFarland. And he has a great understanding of our video systems, because when we went digital back in 2007, he's been there ever since then. But we've had pretty consistent, help. But it is, I will say that, he was in yesterday working on whatever it was that he was working on, just because their workload is so high. There are moments when there's issues, but anytime that we have a problem in a courtroom, they've always responded very appropriately.
Responded appropriately, but what I'm looking for is also in a timely manner, because obviously,
and-
that
yes.
time is of crucial.
Right, well, and it's just like anything, when they went to the ticket system, everything's prioritized. So anything that's normally dealing with a courtroom, especially when you have a courtroom full of people, it doesn't happen that often, but occasionally there may be an issue with the video equipment itself, but more than likely there's been a hiccup on the network, because they've been updating a lot of things. And there's normal pockets of issues that can't be solved in one visit, because it's either a software issue. Some of the new computers we're getting in, have newer versions of certain programs, so finding patches for them. But overall, it hasn't affected the overall operation. An individual person here and there. Are you asking something particular?
No,
of a department?
I'm hearing from individuals, and I'm just asking for verification, clarification from your point of view.
Oh, sure, but from my point of view, and usually when there's an issue, I'm in a courtroom, I'm the first one they contact, because, I have a full toolbox in my office too, and I'll try to fix whatever it is, and you start with the basics. Reboot, a loose terminal, wire, because the one thing I don't want to do is put in a ticket for those very, I'll just say, stupid things that, we bumped it.
Right.
And that does happen occasionally, but it's usually more. But I have nothing but high praise for the service that we get from IT. Because they are shorthanded, but they have some very good people.
Excellent. And Commissioner Alwell, if I may follow up with one last question with Charles. Do you have any specific information for us in regards to the furlough days for the schedule 2014?
We're going to be meeting with ASME. I believe we have it down into the 4 range. There's a couple different scenarios, and which are involving FTE reductions of a couple different natures. The judges are determining which way they're going to go.
So you're continuing to work on that?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Dave?
Maybe you do have, or maybe you did send it and it's not here, a statistical number of cases, how you're,
Yeah, well, I'll have that for you the next quarter. Judges, well, we've got the circuit JIS system, the probate JIS system, and the juvenile JIS system family. And if you saw those reports, a monthly report's about this thick, so it's picking out and narrowing it down and putting it in a form. We will do that for you. Sure. Yep.
Charles, any highlights on your budget that we have noteworthy?
Here, no, we're, I think, overall about where we figured we would be. We've had some rather complicated capital cases lately. We're working with Jim Latham right now, where some of the expert witness fees have exceeded our budget, but that's under the 230, which is the attorney fees. So we're working on that. We got hit with about another $10,000, and I believe they were doctors, forensics. Other than that,
Okay. Chairman Shotwell.
morning, Steve.
Good morning, Charles. Thank you for your report. 3 years ago, when, at the time, Judge Schmucker went to Lansing, became the Chief Circuit Administrator, there was discussion of mirrored or shadowing or a way to consolidate or put together the two court systems administratively. Has any more come out of Lansing on that, on directive or any type of modeling done so that we can look at that in future budgets, say 2015?
I would say the step that has been looked at is doing some concurrent jurisdiction, which we do have, where a district judge can be cross-assigned as a probate judge or a family judge, and vice versa. Some of those models and plans are being looked at right now.
Is there anything you can report on to the board in the future? Say at your next quarterly report?
I definitely can try if there's something new, sure. We are, well, I think everyone knows that Judge Smucker has, he should be in his first day at his new job as the president of the Judicial College in Reno, Nevada, which I didn't see him off, but I attended a gathering for his farewell party a couple weeks ago. The new person that has been selected to take his position is a family probate judge from Monroe County. And I don't believe I've met him yet, to be quite honest with you. Maybe I've seen him, but I've heard that he's a good guy. So, his last name is Holman, and I think his first name is John, but don't quote me on that. I know he's been on the bench over there for 16 years, and he was in private practice for 16 years.
Okay, no other questions? Thank you, Charles.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Next up, J.C. Dot, the farm ground rental bid. Joe, you want to talk to us about that, or pretty well laid out in the packet?
Gonna plead the fifth there.
I'm sorry?
Gonna plead the fifth.
Are you now?
Is that some land out in Parma?
It's, more than Parma. It's Clark Lake. Maybe you can step up to the mic, Joe, or you don't know anything about this, or what? Well, it's nice when we have a J.C.
Where's my fine staff around here, when you need them?
Look in the mirror.
I think that they just took some bids on some land out there. It's up by the Clark Lake Garage, and I know we had a lot out by the Parma Garage, too.
Right.
And I don't think the price was all that great, but that's about as good as they could do.
Well, there's,
Yeah? Oh,
there,
is there a... Maybe we can get a cell tower on there, too, or something.
okay, well, my recollection is this gets approved here, but I kind of thought that somebody from J.C. Dot would be able to present it to us, but all the
I think
details,
they were here yesterday.
where are they now? On the holiday.
No, I apologize. I don't know.
Mike, did you
Chuck
want
or
to take
Bob
this
should
and
have
run
been
with it?
here.
you see how much he paid?
You want to
for it?
cover this?
Did you see the bid?
You want to run with this, or? Okay.
Leasing farm
And,
property.
yeah, it is pretty straightforward. There's 4 different documents. As I recall, there's 3 pieces of land. Only one of them had to take the minimum bid of $30 an acre, I think, which was what, the Clark Lake property, I think. But we'd be looking for a motion to approve the bids.
Also moved to send it to the full board.
Support.
Motion and support. Questions or comments?
May I ask a question after the vote?
Certainly. All those in favor signify. Aye. Ladies first. Sarah?
I'm just curious, how does the bid, how do you get on the bid list, I guess? I was asked that question yesterday when I was talking about it, and I see there was like 6 farms on the bid list, so how does a farm get on it?
Joe, do you know that? You're standing
Well,
here,
I
so-
can't speak for farms, like if we're going out, say for professional engineering services, we have, you know, a handful that you know of that you want to send proposals to, and there may be others that want to meet with you and suggest that they get on the bidders list. You know, like I'm sure the purchasing department has a bidders list for a lot of different things, and maybe in the farm business it's that way too.
You can let your superiors know that that's one of the questions that we've got, but Chair suggested Kent does some of the same stuff. Maybe Kent can enlighten us on how he comes to a conclusion on
It
what
is,
type
in
of-
speaking with Mr. Welch, it was my understanding it was listed in a local newspaper, an ag newspaper, and that's how it was publicly displayed.
Kent, you've got a couple of pieces there, I think, that you bid out, do you not?
Yeah, what we did is we advertised in the paper, but we specifically advertised in the Farm Bureau and the salesman, and we got good coverage on that. And we actually got some very favorable bids for land that had not been previously worked for 100 to 150 per acre, which surprised me at that amount, and that was a multi-year bid. So we just tried to expose it to the folks. So there wasn't any bid list. We just did a broad advertising and then did RFPs for how they wanted to bid per acre and for the number of years they wanted to work it. And that seemed to work very favorably for us. Again, on new ground that needed a lot of work to be tillable.
Thanks, Kent. Just for the public, of course, the documents are with the board packet, but these that we just forwarded on were $183 an acre, as I recall, for 2 parcels, and then the minimum bid of $30 an acre for another one. So. Okay. Moving on to the region.
If I could, Mr. Chair?
Chairman Chatwell.
I guess my question is, strategically, why do we even own this land? Why is it not owned by somebody else, privately held and taxed regularly?
Maybe our administrator can find that out when he calls to make sure that somebody's here next time from the road commission. Good. Okay, any other questions or comments? Hearing none. Moving on to the Region 2 County Master Plan. Looks like it's Amy Torres.
Yes, I'm not Grant Bauman. Grant had a conflict, and I am here with my hat on as the chair of the County Planning Commission today. So he sent you an informational memo about requesting authorization to send out the notice of intent to commence the county master plan. And he's seeking your approval to send that notice out today. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. This
It's
is
4
under the
pages.
auspices of the Michigan Planning Act.
Yeah, it looks pretty straightforward. This is just starting the initial part of the process, as I recall reading it. Any questions from the commissioners? We can have a motion? Right. Motion and support. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Thank you
Amy.
very much.
Next up is the sheriff approval of the countywide electronic ticketing project. That's something that we heard in the study session Friday. Sheriff's not here, but there's Tammy Bates here that knows about it. And this would be moving it onto the full board for a vote. Yeah, anybody have any questions? It was pretty well laid out in study session Friday. I'm sure Tammy could answer any questions, but probably are none. Okay.
I'll move to.
Motion and support, questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried.
You can tell the sheriff you have.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Thanks, Tammy.
I will.
Next up is the sheriff again. Tammy, don't sit down. I'm kidding. This is the purchase of rapid scan body scanners from federal surplus for the county jail. Well, this is pretty straightforward too. I actually had, go ahead, Dave.
I'll move to send.
Motion and support. My only question was, is it I think it was $11,000 if I remember right, but was that for multiple units or per? Mike, do you know maybe? Says the original cost of these scanners was $160,000. They are being provided to county jails for $11,000. Well, but the way that sentence reads, it would lead you to believe provided to county jails, meaning any county jail could buy them for $11,000. I would, by the way that reads, it would tell me per, but we think that's $11,000 expenditure for two.
Because of the first sentence.
$11,000
Whether it's
expenditure.
correct, that's, I don't know, but that's how I understood it.
Does this get approved right? Yeah, it gets approved here. Right.
And regardless, double, it's still at this level, it's appropriate.
Okay, and this is coming from where, the funding for it? If you know, Mike? Okay, so it's only $3,500 then, correct?
That's how I read it.
By my math?
Yeah, mine too.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. JC Dot. Anybody here for that? Joe? Approval of the site plan for JSP Sheet Foam, which is in Blackman Charter Township. Joe?
Well, we got a design for a building going up out there. It's kind of at the quadrant of County Farm and Blackman Road. Site plans were dropped off to me and reviewed them and had the engineer make a couple of changes on them. He resubmitted the plans and I stamped them on as approved and sent them on to the board here for approval of that site plan so they can start work.
Commissioners, any questions? Looking for a motion?
Move to approve.
Correct, sending to the full board. Motion and support, questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Joe, thanks for your hard work. JC Dot, approval to accept Fox Lake Trail into the Jackson County Public Road System. Hanover, I think.
It is. Well, we certainly haven't accepted a new road into the public road system for quite some time because hasn't been a lot of site condominiums or anything being built here recently. And this was, taken under consideration or began back in the mid-2000s. So what a developer does is submits the preliminary plans. We look those over and approve them. And at that time, they went to the road commission board for approval, and then the engineer submits some final plans that are more detailed, and then I review those. Any changes need to be incorporated and submit those plans back to me, and stamp them on as approved and send them to the road commission board then, and they approve that. And then the construction goes on, and so the contractor's out there building the road. The inspector's collecting his daily reports, doing his testing on the sand, the gravel, any concrete if there is any, and the blacktop. The road gets done, and this road was completed back in about 2007, and so it has remained private for quite a while. And, there's one person, I think he bought 3 lots at the end, and his house covers about all 3 lots. It's just a mansion down there. And now the developer wants to turn it over to the county. I went out and looked at the road. I have a lot of pictures in the file. We have the warranty deed on file. We have an irrevocable letter of credit for $10,000 for 2 years. So if there's any deficiencies to the road in the next 2 years, we can use that money to help fix it up so it'll still be in good shape. You know, and we have everything we need on file to accept the road into the public road system. It's a cul-de-sac. It's a 2,000-foot cul-de-sac off the end of Maitland Drive there in Hanover Township.
Joe, it sounds like you do a pretty good job of watching to make sure everything's what it should be, but you're very confident that whenever you're making a recommendation that we accept one of these roads into the system, that it's built to county standard as far as how it's built, width of it, and everything else. And I also think back to, I can't think of the name of the road that runs off Page Ave next to Menards. That
Watts Road?
Yeah, Watts, that was accepted in, and I don't necessarily think the county would ever have built a road like that with those 2 sharp turns in it, and it seems like there was some controversy at the time about accepting it in, or getting it opened. So that's why I ask if we are sure that we know what we're getting when we accept these roads in.
That road had to skirt around some wetlands to avoid a lot of mitigation, I think, and that's why that went through. And it connected to that Watts Road, the dead-end part coming down off of Michigan Ave. I mean, this is the time of the year that we get a lot of requests to take public roads into the public road system because we're getting so close to having to plow the roads. And they said, well, it was built to county standards. Well, you know, I've seen that movie before. And unless you can supply me with the right documents and some plans, see what developers will do is they submit a plan, but they do it on their own. And they don't want to go through the road commission and have it overseen because it drives up the cost of the lot. So they do it on their own, and then, you know, they just hire a contractor to come in and start grading and paving and sell lots, and then next thing you know, they want to turn it over to us to accept, and sometimes they do have documents, but more than often they don't, and so it's a battle. But this one does.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and they have gone through the whole process of us watching over it and looking at the plans.
That's more comforting than 20 years after a road's built asking you, nobody was there to see it at the time. Has any road ever been denied, Joe, that you're aware of or not?
Yes, many.
Many?
Yes. I have a checklist and about accepting public roads into the county public road system, and as soon as I send them over to the person, then they say, wow, that's a lot of money for me to spend to get this up to public road standard. What is that Village Green off of Chapel Road? And, you know, it's not wide enough. They've got a lot of boulders and stuff in the right-of-way. There's no T-turnaround or no cul-de-sac at the end for the trucks to turn around, and the drainage is all messed up out there. The driveway culverts are crushed, and just a lot of deficiencies with it. And so, yeah, I'm not taking that. I can't take that to the board and put my neck out there on the chopping block.
Okay, do we get a motion on this? Okay. Motion and support. Additional questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
JC Dot. Joe, abandon the gravel portion of Woodville between West Michigan Ave and M60 on Jackson County Airport property.
At the request of Lieutenant Mauer, he wants to vacate the gravel part of Woodville Road. All of those homes were purchased now, and so the airport owns all of that property, and they have had issues with dumping down there and trash and just people that don't need to be down there, and so he wanted to get that vacated. And I said, sure, here's a petition, fill it out, get all of the signatures on there that we need, which was one, his. And so he signed that. It was notarized as per the petition. The filing fee was waived because it's a governmental employee here. And so, and then he did have some correspondence as well with his board that recommended that that gravel part of the road be vacated. And so with that, we'd just like to bring it to the board so he can put a road end sign up there and feel a lot more comfortable.
Joe, to clarify for the public, the fee was waived because it's a governmental entity,
Entity, yeah.
not just because it's an
Wow.
employee. We don't waive it just for employees, but, yeah. Okay, looking for a motion.
Support.
Motion and support, questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thanks, Joe, I think your work here is done.
No comments from Kent at all? I mean,
None necessary, pretty self-explanatory. Equalization, the revised Springport Township millage due. Ruth?
All I have for you today is one small change to the apportionment report that needs to go to the full board. Springport had an election for one more mill for a fire truck, and that was approved, so the apportionment report needs to be amended.
Ruth, just a quick question. Is this the only thing that gets changed? It doesn't make some domino effect about other things that have to be changed down the
Oh,
line?
this
Just
is
this
it.
one?
Yeah, Albion Schools also had a millage, but that did not pass. So this is it.
Okay. Looking for a motion.
Any questions?
Support.
Motion and support. Questions or comments?
No, that's next year. That starts in 14.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thanks,
Thank you.
Ruth. Claims. Looking to pay the claims. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Other minutes, none. You have the December reporting schedule, and we are back to public comment for 3 minutes. Anybody from the public? Hearing none. Committee member comment. I just want to make one comment. Dave was asking Charles about a little bit more detail in the report, and I actually had conversations with the administrator about that, and have requested that we try and get as much more information ahead of time as we can, detailed reports that we can look at ahead of time and compare to. So Mike has promised me that he'd put in that request and work on that to get more detail to the committee members before the meeting. All the elected officials do a great job, and the appointed people, but just as one person, I like to look through the detail ahead of time and formulate questions, and it sounds like others do too. So any other commissioner comments? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Thank you.